The grand chamber of the Meridian Galactic Council shimmered with bioluminescent light, its crystalline walls reflecting the concerned faces of 1,000 species representatives. High Counselor Venna Tal, her silver-scaled form floating gracefully above the central podium, raised a hand for silence. Esteemed colleagues, her telepathic voice resonated through the minds of all present. We gather today to address a matter of unprecedented urgency. Our deep space observers have encountered a species that defies our understanding, humans. The chamber erupted in murmurs as holographic displays materialized, showing images of Earth and its colonies. Cities that had risen from wasteland, ships that had transformed hostile worlds into gardens, and weapons that had evolved from primitive projectiles to antimatter catalysts in mere centuries. Ambassador Krell of the Krix Empire sat in his obsidian throne, his 4 eyes narrowing as he studied the displays. The Krix, a race of silicon-based beings known for their military might, had little patience for the Council's cautionary approach to emerging species. These humans, Venna continued, have achieved in 3 centuries what took most species millennia. They've mastered faster-than-light travel, terraforming, and quantum manipulation. But it's not their technological progress that concerns us, it's their adaptability and unpredictability. The holographic display shifted to show humans surviving in extreme environments, improvising solutions to impossible problems, and displaying both remarkable compassion and terrible violence. We propose an immediate non-interference directive, Venna declared. All spacefaring civilizations must be warned to avoid conflict with humanity. Their potential for rapid advancement and unconventional problem-solving makes them a wild card in galactic politics. Ambassador Krell's crystalline laughter cut through the chamber. With all due respect, High Counselor, the Krix Empire finds your fear of these primitives amusing. While you debate, we act. The human colony of Novaterra lies within our expansion zone. We intend to claim it. Ambassador Krell, Venna's scales flickered with alarm. The Council strongly advises against this course of action. Our simulations suggest that human resistance would be. The Council's simulations are as outdated as its policies, Krell interrupted, rising from his throne. The Krix Empire has subjugated dozens of species. These humans will be no different. As Krell strode from the chamber, Venna felt a deep sense of foreboding. On her private terminal, she quickly composed a warning message to Earth's secret diplomatic contact, but she knew it would arrive too late. Aboard the Krix flagship Inevitable Dominion, Supreme Commander Xarketh reviewed the invasion plans. The crystalline being's faceted surface reflected the tactical displays showing Novaterra's defenses, or lack thereof. A single colony world, minimal orbital defenses, no standing army. Xarketh mused to his second-in-command, war leader Sira. The Council's warning seems increasingly ridiculous. The invasion fleet is ready, Supreme Commander, Sira reported. 20,000 warriors, 200 ships. Far more than necessary for such a primitive world. Begin the approach, Xarketh ordered. Let's show these humans their place in the galaxy. On Novaterra, Dr. Maya Santos stood in the colony's atmospheric control center, monitoring the terraforming progress. The planet had been their home for just 5 years, but already the toxic atmosphere was becoming breathable, and the first native plants were taking root. Her assistant, Dr. Rovi Patel, burst into the control room. Maya, long-range sensors have detected something massive entering the system. Multiple objects, definitely not natural. Maya's blood ran cold as she studied the sensor readings. The objects were decelerating in a controlled manner, ships, hundreds of them, arranged in an attack formation. Alert Governor Chen, she ordered, and get me everything we have on non-human spacecraft designs. Something tells me we're about to make first contact, and it won't be friendly. As the Krix fleet approached Novaterra, neither they nor the Galactic Council could have predicted how their dismissal of humanity would reshape the galaxy. The first shots of an interstellar war were about to be fired, and the true test of human resilience was about to begin. The skies of Novaterra turned black with Crick's warships. Governor Sarah Chen stood at the colony's command center window, watching as the first energy bolts streaked through the atmosphere. The colony's warning sirens wailed across the valley, their cry echoing off the terraformed mountains. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before her. "Civilian evacuation to the deep bunkers is at 40%, Dr. Maya Santos reported, her fingers flying across multiple holographic displays. "Our defensive grid is online, but," she hesitated, "it's designed for asteroid deflection, not military engagement." The first impacts rocked the colony. The atmospheric shield, originally designed to hold in breathable air, flickered under the assault. Through the command center's windows, they watched as crystalline ships descended through the clouds, their geometric forms catching the light of Novaterra's twin suns. "We need more time," Dr. Patel said, coordinating with the evacuation teams. "There are still thousands of people in the residential sectors." Governor Chen's jaw tightened. "Then we'll give them time. Dr. Santos, initiate Protocol Omega." Maya's eyes widened. "Governor, that's meant for environmental disasters, not." "Do it." Maya nodded and began the sequence. Across the colony, massive atmospheric processors, the machines that had made Novaterra habitable, reversed their function. Toxic gases from the planet's core vented into the atmosphere, creating a caustic storm around the descending Crick's ships. On the inevitable Dominion, Supreme Commander Xarkef watched with mild surprise as his forward ships reported hull degradation from the sudden chemical assault. "Interesting," he mused. "They weaponized their terraforming technology. Primitive, but creative." He turned to War Leader Sierra. "Deploy the ground forces in sealed units and target those atmospheric processors, show them the futility of resistance." Back on the surface, the colony's small security force engaged the first wave of Crick's warriors. The alien soldiers were living crystals, their bodies refracting energy weapons and shrugging off conventional ammunition. But humanity's greatest strength had always been adaptation. The mining lasers. Security Chief David Rodriguez shouted over the comm. "They're designed to cut through mineral deposits. Use them." The security teams fell back to the mining sector, retrofitting industrial equipment into makeshift weapons. The high-powered cutting lasers proved effective against the crystalline invaders, shattering their forms into countless glittering shards. But for every small victory, the defenders paid in blood. The Crick's numbers were overwhelming, their technology centuries ahead of humanity's colonial equipment. One by one, the atmospheric processes fell, their destruction releasing plumes of superheated gas into the sky. In the command center, Governor Chen received the news she'd been dreading. "Ma'am, the bunker complex is at capacity. We have to seal the doors, but there are still people out there." Chen closed her eyes for a moment, the weight of command crushing down on her. "How many made it?" 60% of the population, Maya reported softly. "The rest." An explosion rocked the building. Through the windows, they could see Crick's forces approaching the command center, their crystalline forms glinting in the fires of the burning colony. "Dr. Santos, Dr. Patel, get to the bunkers. Now." Chen's voice left no room for argument. "I'll initiate the final protocols from here." "Governor." Maya started to protest. "That's an order. Earth needs to know what happened here. They need to know what we're facing." As Maya and Ravi were escorted out by the remaining security team, Governor Chen turned to the console and began typing. The message was brief but clear. "Earth Command. Colony Novaterra under attack by advanced alien force. Civilian casualties severe. Enemy is crystalline in nature, resistant to conventional weapons. Mining lasers effective. Atmospheric processors can be weaponized. Most survivors in deep bunkers. Do not attempt standard rescue. They are too strong. Come prepared for war." She sent the message just as the command center doors burst inward in a shower of molten metal. Supreme Commander Xarkef entered, his crystalline form towering over her. "Impressive resistance," he said, his voice resonating like grinding stones. "For primitives." Chen stood straight, facing the alien commander with defiance. "You've made a mistake attacking us. Humanity won't forget this." "No," Sarketh agreed, "they won't. That's precisely what we're counting on." As the last free human on Novaterra's surface was taken prisoner, deep below the surface, in the bunker complex, Maya Santos and Ravi Patel began documenting everything they had learned about their enemy. The Krix had won this battle, but they had inadvertently provided humanity with something dangerous: knowledge of their weaknesses. In the darkness of the bunkers, the survivors of Novaterra waited, their resolve hardening like steel in a forge. They had lost their homes, their colony, their peace, but in doing so, they had gained something the Krix would learn to fear: purpose. Admiral Helena Winters stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display of Novaterra's final transmission. The silence in the chamber was deafening as Governor Chen's last message faded away. "The Krix Empire has declared war on humanity," Winters stated, her voice cutting through the tension. "But they've made a critical error. They've shown us their hand before showing us their full strength." The council chamber erupted in urgent discussions. Fleet Admiral Victor Torres, his dark eyes reflecting the tactical displays, spoke first. "Our colonies were designed for peace, not war. But Earth?" He smiled grimly. "Earth remembers how to fight." Dr. Samantha Wright, head of the Advanced Weapons Division, stepped forward. Project Helios was theoretical, designed to harness solar energy for colonization, but with modifications. She manipulated the holographic display, showing complex energy matrices. "We can weaponize it against crystalline structures." "How long?" Admiral Winters demanded. 3 weeks to prototype, another 2 for fleet-wide implementation." "The survivors in those bunkers don't have 5 weeks, Torres countered. "Then we work faster," Wright replied, her determination evident. "And we have something else. The mining laser data from Novaterra. We can upgrade our ship-mounted weapons with similar properties." In orbital shipyards above Earth, humanity's response took shape. The fleet carrier Hyperion, pride of the United Earth Navy, underwent rapid modifications. Its hull was retrofitted with experimental crystalline fracture weapons, its fighters equipped with mining laser derivatives. Deep within Lunar Base Alpha, Dr. Wright and her team worked tirelessly on Project Helios. The weapon was elegant in its simplicity, using focused solar energy to exploit the natural frequencies of crystalline structures. In theory, it could shatter entire Krix ships with a single burst. "The frequencies have to be exact," Wright explained to Admiral Winters during an inspection. "Too high, and it disperses harmlessly. Too low, and we waste energy. But if we get it right..." She gestured to a test chamber where a captured piece of Krix technology dissolved into dust. Meanwhile, in the Strategic Command Center, Admiral Torres coordinated the largest military mobilization in human history. Colony ships were converted to troop transports, civilian vessels retrofitted with weapons systems, and automated mining platforms reprogrammed for warfare. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier, Torres briefed his commanders. "We're not just fighting for Novaterra, we're fighting for humanity's future among the stars." The response wasn't limited to military preparation. Across Earth, industries shifted to war production. Universities turned their quantum computers to analyzing Krix technology. Civilian scientists volunteered their expertise in crystalline structures and energy weapons. In her private office, Admiral Winters reviewed the latest intelligence. The Krix had underestimated humanity, expecting an easy conquest. They didn't understand what they'd awakened: the full industrial and intellectual might of a species that had clawed its way from stone tools to starships through sheer determination. "Admiral," her AI assistant interrupted, "Dr. Wright requests your presence in the Helios lab. There's been a breakthrough." The prototype weapon dominated the laboratory's main chamber. It looked deceptively simple, a series of focusing arrays surrounding a central core of quantum-aligned crystals. "We've done it," Wright announced, her exhaustion evident but her eyes bright with triumph. "Watch." The test chamber hummed to life. A salvaged piece of Crick's technology floated in the center. The Helios prototype fired, not a destructive blast, but a precise pulse of energy. The Crick's crystal didn't shatter, it completely disintegrated. "Perfect attunement," Wright explained. "We're not just breaking their ships, we're unraveling the very structure of their technology, and the energy requirements are minimal. We can mount these on everything from capital ships to fighter craft." Admiral Winters studied the test results. "How soon can we begin production?" "Mass manufacturing begins tomorrow. Fleet-wide installation in 10 days. Make it 7, Winters ordered. Those people in the bunkers have waited long enough." As humanity prepared for war, a message was broadcast to every ship, every colony, every citizen. The enemy believed us weak. They thought our colonies would be easy prey. They were wrong. We are humanity. We turned our mining tools into weapons. We transformed our terraforming technology into defensive systems. Now we will show them why the Galactic Council warned them about us. For Earth, for Novaterra, for all humanity. Above Earth, the growing fleet of warships stretched across the sky, their hulls gleaming with new weapons and armor. In less than a month, humanity had transformed itself from a peaceful spacefaring civilization into an armed force ready for interstellar war. The Crick's empire had started this conflict expecting an easy victory. They were about to learn why you don't corner a species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and their own destructive potential to reach the stars. The counterattack was about to begin. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Novaterra system, a vast armada of over 300 ships. On the bridge of the Hyperion, Admiral Winters watched as tactical displays showed the Crick's occupation force. They had grown complacent in their conquest. "All ships, battle formation Delta," she commanded. "Activate Helios systems and prepare for engagement. Remember your training. Remember Novaterra." The Cricks detected the human fleet moments later. Supreme Commander Xarketh stood on his flagship's bridge, his crystalline form reflecting the alarm signals. "Impossible," he muttered. Their response should have taken months. "Enemy fleet approaching," War Leader Sira reported. "Their ships, they're different, enhanced." "It doesn't matter," Xarketh declared. "They're still primitives. All ships, combat formation. Show these humans the might of the Crick's empire." The space between the fleets lit up with energy weapons and missile trails. The first volley from the Crick's ships splashed against the human fleet's shields based on analysis of Crick's technology, modified and improved by human engineers. "Return fire," Winters ordered. "All ships, initiate Helios Protocol Alpha." Across the human fleet, the newly installed weapons powered up. Beams of precisely tuned energy lanced out, striking the Crick's vessels. Where their normal weapons would have been deflected, these beams penetrated the crystalline hulls, causing cascading fractures throughout the enemy ships. "Multiple enemy vessels breaking up," reported Captain Sarah Chen, Governor Chen's daughter, specifically requested for this mission. Helios weapons performing beyond expectations. On the inevitable Dominion, Xarketh watched in horror as his fleet began to shatter. "Impossible. They've weaponized our own structure against us." He turned to Sira. "Launch all fighters. Target their capital ships." The space battle devolved into chaos as thousands of fighters engaged in desperate combat. Human pilots, trained in simulator battles based on Novaterra's data, proved remarkably effective against the Crick's fighters. The mining laser derivatives cut through the crystalline ships like light through glass. Meanwhile, beneath Novaterra's surface, the bunker survivors heard the distant rumble of orbital combat. Dr. Maya Santos and Dr. Patel gathered their people near the communication arrays, hoping for news. Surface scans complete, Captain Chen reported to Admiral Winters. Bunker signatures detected. Survivors confirmed alive. She paused, emotion creeping into her voice. They held out, Admiral. They waited for us. Then let's not keep them waiting any longer, Winters replied. Launch the ground assault. Target the Krik's ground forces with Helios-equipped dropships. Marine dropships streaked through Nova Terra's atmosphere, their hulls glowing with re-entry heat. Leading the assault was Colonel Marcus Kane, his ship carrying a special payload, a modified atmospheric processor designed to create conditions hostile to Krik's crystalline structures. The ground battle was fierce but decisive. The Krik's warriors, so dominant during the initial invasion, found themselves facing an enemy that had studied them, understood them, and developed specific countermeasures to their every advantage. In orbit, the battle reached its climax as the Hyperion engaged the inevitable Dominion directly. Target their command center, Winters ordered. Full Helios burst. The Hyperion's main gun fired, the energy beams striking the Krik's flagship's bridge. Supreme Commander Tsar Keth had one moment to realize his empire's mistake before his crystalline form shattered along with his ship. War Leader Sira, watching from a secondary command ship, made the only logical choice. All Krik's forces, full retreat, abandon Nova Terra, return to Empire space immediately. The remaining Krik's ships fled, leaving their ground forces to face humanity's wrath alone. Colonel Kane's forces, supported by the weaponized atmosphere, systematically eliminated the remaining Krik's warriors. Hours later, Maya Santos emerged from the bunker complex to see human Marines standing guard under Earth's flag. The sky, though scarred by battle, was clear of Krik's ships. They had endured, they had survived, and now they had won. Admiral Winters stood on the ruins of the colonial capital, watching as medical teams treated the survivors and engineering crews began reconstruction. Captain Chen approached, holding a data tablet. Admiral, we've decoded more of the Krik's tactical databases, she reported. They have 15 more colonies within strike range of their empire. Winters nodded, her expression grim but determined. Then we have work to do. The Kriks thought they could break us. Instead, they taught us how to fight back. Send word to Earth. Operation Shatterpoint is a go. We're taking the fight to them. The liberation of Nova Terra was complete, but it was only the beginning. Humanity had learned, adapted, and overcome. Now they would show the galaxy why the Galactic Council's warning should have been heeded. The counter-strike had succeeded, but the war was far from over. Deep in Krik's territory, aboard the new flagship Defiant, Admiral Winters reviewed the holographic map showing the progress of Operation Shatterpoint. In 3 weeks since Nova Terra's liberation, humanity had struck 7 Krik's worlds, shattering their defenses with ruthless efficiency. The Helios weapons have exceeded all projections, Dr. Wright reported, her hologram flickering beside the tactical display. But we've discovered something even more significant. The Kriks aren't just using crystalline technology, they are crystalline technology. The revelation had come from detailed analysis of captured Krik's databases. Their entire civilization was a complex matrix of living crystals, each member connected to a vast network that spanned their empire. It was their greatest strength and potentially their fatal weakness. "Show me," Winters commanded. Wright manipulated the display, revealing complex frequency patterns. Every Krix is attuned to specific harmonic frequencies. Disrupt those frequencies, and we can disable their entire command structure, Winters finished. How soon can we implement this? We've modified the Helios array on Nova Terra. Once calibrated, it can generate a pulse that will cascade through their entire network. But Wright hesitated. We'll only get one chance. After that, they'll adapt. Meanwhile, in the Krik's Empire's central nexus, the High Crystal Arch faced unprecedented crisis. Their supposedly inferior opponents had not only repelled their invasion, but were now systematically dismantling their outer defenses. Impossible. The crystal archer's voice resonated through the chamber. How can these primitives understand our technology so completely? The answer, though none dared speak it, was simple. Humans didn't just use technology, they mastered it, improved it, and turned it against their enemies. Every defeat taught them new lessons, which they applied with terrifying speed. Back on the Defiant, Admiral Winters received an urgent transmission. The Cricks had gathered their remaining forces for a desperate counter-offensive. Over 2,000 ships were heading toward Earth. "They think we'll retreat to defend our homeworld," Captain Chen observed. Winters smiled grimly. "Then they still don't understand us. Signal the fleet. We proceed with Operation Shatterpoint. Let them come to Earth. They'll find more than they bargained for." The trap was set. As the Cricks armada approached Earth, they found minimal resistance. Their sensors detected no significant defense fleet, no orbital weapons platforms. Victory seemed assured. Then Dr. Wright activated Project Helios's true form. The sun itself seemed to pulse as massive solar collectors around Mercury focused its energy through quantum arrays. The beam that emerged was precisely tuned to the Cricks' fundamental frequency. The effect was devastating. Throughout the Cricks fleet, crystalline structures began to resonate. Ships shattered, warriors crumbled, and their vast neural network experienced cascading failures. The High Crystal Arch felt it first, a vibration that threatened to tear their consciousness apart. What is this? Dr. Wright watched from her control center as the frequency pulse propagated through subspace, following the paths of the Cricks' own network. "This is humanity's edge," she whispered. "We don't just adapt to technology, we transcend it." The pulse reached the Cricks' homeworld, and their civilization began to crumble. Not in destruction, humanity had calibrated the pulse carefully, but in disruption. Their ships went dark, their weapons failed, and their vast network collapsed. Admiral Winters addressed the defeated Cricks fleet. "Your empire underestimated us. The Galactic Council warned you, but you didn't listen. Now you understand why. Humanity doesn't just fight wars, we end them. Surrender and live. Resist." She didn't need to finish the threat. The Cricks fleet, their ships barely functional, had no choice but to accept defeat. The war that was supposed to be a simple conquest had become their greatest catastrophe. As news of victory spread through human space, Dr. Maya Santos stood on Novaterra's rebuilt surface, watching construction crews restore the colony. "We did more than survive," she told Dr. Peto. "We proved something to the galaxy." "What's that?" "That humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our weapons," she replied. "It's our ability to learn, adapt, and overcome. The Cricks thought they were superior because they were ancient and unchanging. We showed them the power of evolution. The victory marked more than the end of a war. It marked humanity's emergence as a major galactic power. The species that had been dismissed as primitives had shattered an empire that had stood for millennia." And in the Galactic Council, High Counselor Venatal smiled as she addressed her colleagues. "Perhaps now you understand why we warned them about humans. The question is, are we ready for what comes next?" 1 year after the Cricks' surrender, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the newly constructed Harmony Station orbiting Earth. The massive space station, built with a fusion of human innovation and acquired alien technology, served as a symbol of humanity's new status in galactic politics. Admiral Winters, now Earth's primary diplomatic representative, stood before the assembled delegates. The chamber was a stark contrast to the Meridian Council Hall, practical, efficient, and unmistakably human in design. "The terms of the peace accord are non-negotiable," she stated, addressing the Cricks delegation. Their once mighty empire had been reformed into a cooperative of semi-autonomous worlds, their military capabilities severely limited. "You will share your technological knowledge, and in return, we will help rebuild your worlds with sustainable, non-crystalline infrastructure." The Cricks representative, no longer a towering crystalline being but a more modest form, bowed in acceptance. They had learned the price of pride. Dr. Wright, now heading the newly established Interstellar Technology Exchange, presented the next phase of human expansion. We're not just rebuilding, we're evolving. The Helios project has applications beyond warfare: clean energy, terraforming, faster-than-light communications. The possibilities are endless. In the colonies, including a restored and thriving Nova Terra, humanity's adaptability continued to shine. Maya Santos led teams incorporating Crick's crystal technology into environmental systems, creating more efficient and resilient terraforming processes. But not everyone in the galaxy welcomed humanity's rapid rise. In a secure chamber of Harmony Station, Admiral Winters met with High Counselor Venna Tal. "You've achieved in 1 year what most species take centuries to accomplish," Venna observed. "Some council members are concerned." "About our potential for violence?" Winters asked directly. "About your potential for change," Venna corrected. "You transform everything you touch. Technology, politics, even biology. It's unprecedented." "It's who we are," Winters replied. "We spent our history fighting. Ourselves, our environment, our limitations. Now we fight for something better. Peace through strength, progress through understanding." On Earth, the changes were even more dramatic. Cities incorporated crystalline architecture that adapted to environmental conditions. Vehicles used hybrid technologies that defied traditional physics. Schools taught xenobiology alongside human history. Captain Chen, now commanding Harmony Station, received regular updates from the frontier. Human ships ventured further into unexplored space, not as conquerors, but as explorers. Each encounter with new species brought opportunities for trade, cultural exchange, and technological advancement. In the Galactic Council, debates raged about humanity's role in galactic affairs. Some advocated for restrictions on human expansion. Others sought closer ties, recognizing the advantages of partnership. "They are dangerous," one delegate argued. "They are essential," another countered. "Look how they transformed the Cricks from enemies to partners. They don't just win wars, they win peace." The truth lay somewhere in between. Humanity had proven itself both terrifying and inspiring. They could shatter empires or heal worlds. Their technology could destroy or create. Their influence could dominate or elevate. In her office on Harmony Station, Admiral Winters reviewed proposals for new joint ventures, research stations, trade routes, cultural exchanges. The galaxy was opening up, not through conquest, but through cooperation. "We've received another diplomatic request," her AI assistant reported. "The Zentari Collective seeks human assistance with their dying son." Winters smiled. A year ago, such a request would have been unthinkable. Now, humanity's reputation for solving impossible problems preceded them. On Nova Terra, during the colony's restoration ceremony, Dr. Santos unveiled a memorial. It listed not just the human lives lost in the Crix War, but the lessons learned: adapt, overcome, unite, grow. The galaxy watched as humanity continued to evolve, to innovate, to challenge assumptions about what was possible. The species that had been dismissed as primitives had become teachers, partners, and protectors. In the end, the Galactic Council's warning had been both right and wrong. Humanity was dangerous, to stagnation, to tyranny, to the idea that any problem was unsolvable. But they were also a force for positive change, pushing the boundaries of what was possible and proving that the future belonged to those who could adapt. As Earth's ships ventured into the unknown, carrying the combined knowledge of human ingenuity and alien wisdom, one thing became clear: the galaxy would never be the same. And perhaps that was exactly what it needed. The Crix War had ended, but humanity's journey was just beginning. The stars awaited, full of challenges to overcome and wonders to discover. And this time, they went forward not as conquerors or victims, but as equals among the stars, respected, feared, and ultimately understood.